That's right, folks. I am revealing to you Deadpool because I am about to discuss the movie Deadpool, movie that, yes, came out a while back. And unfortunately, I did not have the time to spare them to really put down my thoughts in the way I wanted to put down my thoughts. So here I go. I'm going to put down some thoughts on what I think about Deadpool, an important film. It's an important film to me, ultimately, because, of course, I'm a fucking huge X-Men fan. If you haven't already figured it out, I am an enormously big X-Men fan. And the fact that, Marvel, at this point, Marvel Studios proper does not have the rights to the X-Men is a source of sadness for me, because it's really affecting my life in a negative way, because I'm a big X-Men fan, so I still read the X-Men comics, I'm like up on the continuity, and so there's been a lot of like rumors about Marvel trying to sideline the X-Men because they don't have the rights to the films, like they don't want to basically promote a competing brand of film, because the revenue gain from film sales is a lot more than the revenue gain from comic book sales. Comic book sales revenues are marginal compared to the the revenue you get from a film. So it's just, for them, it's like they're kind of defeating themselves, is sort of, I think, the mentality that the corporate umbrella, of Disney that owns Marvel, that, like, they basically decided that, they had to prioritize, like, a big number over small numbers. So that's basically, it's all accounting, it's all basic, like, profit analysis stuff, like, and from the business standpoint, I get it. As a fan, it's really been difficult for me, because I love these characters, and I didn't want... I want them to be part of the Marvel Universe. They always have been, since I started reading comics, and, when I was 13 years old. Like, the X-Men have always been part of the Marvel Universe. The Inhumans were just, like... they were, like, guest stars every now and then to things, but they weren't really important. And the only reason they became important, it has everything to do with the whole business side of the whole thing, which I get. I get it. But still, it bothers me. Anyway, all that being said, the fact that Marvel doesn't have the rights to the X-Men is a problem, because we've seen that Fox, that does have the rights to the X-Men films, has, is hit and miss with the franchise. Like, they can't necessarily always get it right. And so that's problematic. Like, we see what's happening with Fantastic Four. Like, they rebooted Fantastic Four, and it was a failure, even though they planned to make it part of a shared universe with the X-Men, which would have been awesome. But that's not going to happen now, because they totally fucked up Fantastic Four. It was trash. It was just trash. It was throwaway trash. I'm sure Josh Trank's original vision was good, and I wish he had gotten the opportunity to create whatever that was. But, in the end, what became the movie is trash. And because of that, like, the Fantastic Four are going to fade into obscurity as far as, like, film goes, even though they would be central characters in the Marvel Universe. And as well, on the business side of things, like, they for the first time in, I think, forever, like, there is no Fantastic Four comic book. Like, some of the characters have branched off into different places, but post Secret Wars, like, basically, like, there was no more Fantastic Four. Like, Reed Richards had to do some, like, monitoring of the universe. I don't know. It's just whatever, something. Like, totally sidelined him. I think Human Torch is with somebody. I don't know. I'm not paying attention to all the titles. I don't know where the characters went exactly, but I know that the Fantastic Four are not together, and there's no ongoing Fantastic Four book. So, because that happened, and it's just distressing, because then you think, well, could this happen to the X-Men? And then you hear all these rumors about there being no X-Men titles, or like by 2016, like there had been like some rumors recently about like an absence of X books, post Civil War II, and it was like, it was scary, because like, okay, wow, is this the moment? Is this when they finally say we're not going to print any more X-Men comics? The X-Men will exist in our universe, but they won't have their own comics anymore, and they won't be important anymore. Like I thought, like maybe that this was a moment. Apparently, that is not the case. Apparently, I think there was a big charade on Marvel's part, like just a way to kind of build up some hype over something big that's about to happen. There's 8 months that are missing between Secret Wars and now. Cyclops is supposedly dead. He apparently led some sort of uprising against the Inhumans because the Inhumans are now multiplying, and the Terrigen Mist, which I think is covering the Earth now. Like there was an explosion of Terrigen Mist, I think, all over the world. I think that was in a storyline called Inhuman, I think. So that Terrigen Mist has created all sorts of new Inhumans, but it's poisoned the Earth basically for mutants. Like no more new mutants can be born, and I think it's taken. I don't know if it's taken away powers. I don't think it's taken away powers, but I don't think any more new mutants can be born, or maybe it has taken away powers, or it's killed mutants. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's basically put the X-Men in a position where they've become unimportant, and they're almost like, just... Okay, so in the main X-Men storyline, like, the X-Mansion is now in limbo, because in limbo, which is this alternate dimension where Magic, which is Colossus' sister, Ileana Rasputin, where she kind of has some power and control, so she took the X-Mansion to limbo, where they would not be exposed to the Terrigen Mist, and they could be safe, even though in limbo there's demons, so they're constantly being attacked. Anyway, apparently, like, anyway, so because there's like 8 months missing, we don't know what happened between then and now when the X-Mansion is in limbo or whatever, and Cyclops is presumed dead. Like, all sorts of things could have happened, and it's an important question that needs to be answered, because in Uncanny X-Men number 600, like, I think Cyclops, I think he finally got some sort, like, they made a big step forward as far as, like, mutant rights, but then apparently after that things fell apart, and he died when he led some rebellion against the Inhumans, but we haven't seen that story, and now a story is coming up soon that's going to basically reveal what that is. And it's kind of interesting. Like, hopefully it'll lead to the original Cyclops being alive, because I want the original Cyclops to be alive, because he's become a really interesting character, and I think it's unfortunate that it feels like he's been sidelined, but apparently not. Anyway, so all this stuff is going on, and Marvel, they kind of like played with our fear of this, and I'm glad that it's not true, and I hope that the X-Men go on, but nonetheless, this whole situation has been very distressing to me, and it's been a problem for me, because again, I am a big X-Men fan. It's ridiculous how big of an X-Men fan I am. Anyway, and because the characters themselves have been sort of under threat, and the Fox movies have been kind of hit and miss, the X-Men have been on shaky ground. I mean, we don't get much new merchandise as a result of this whole thing, also because, Marvel, again, doesn't want to license out the X-Men. Again, it's about competition, it's about profits, it's about sadness for me and a lot of people, I'm sure. So anyway, so all this is going on, and it's a problem. So when Deadpool came out, and here it comes, I'm bringing it back to what I originally set out to talk about, which is Deadpool. I needed all this context to be understood in order for you to understand why I feel the way I do about Deadpool. So here comes fucking Deadpool, and it kicks some motherfucking box office ass. Like, this movie comes out, it was not very expensive to make, and it was not very expensive to make, and it made so much money. It made a bunch of money, and it was very entertaining. Okay, so this is the thing about Deadpool. Like, Okay, so Deadpool was introduced around the time that I started collecting comics in New Mutants number 98. And he was like a serious kind of hitman then. Eventually, I believe the writer's name is Joe Kelly. He gets his own ongoing series, and that's when it starts to become sort of like jokey, quippy, kind of like, you know, off-balance, off-center sort of comedy. Mixed in with, like, you know, his whole lifestyle as a mercenary and all this stuff. So, I actually read that series and I enjoyed it. I never thought for a moment that the character would blow up to become as popular as he is today. So I took a break from reading comics for maybe like 8 or 9 years, and when I came back, it was told to me apparently that it became very apparent very quickly that he became as popular as Wolverine. And I was a little taken aback by that, but I was glad about it. Whatever. Like, I like the character, but like, I kind of witnessed the change and evolution of the character, and I also kind of read a lot of the comics before he had been introduced, and also a lot of the comics in which he existed but was not an important character, like during the time period of his early sort of inception. And so, you know, I didn't have a strong affinity for the character. I don't have a strong, like, connection to the character. I'm really happy that the character became as popular as he is, and I do enjoy reading about him every now and then. But I never read his ongoing solo series since I've started reading comics again, like almost 7 or 8 years ago now. I never kept up with the solo ongoing series because I'm just not that invested in the character of Deadpool. But nonetheless, like, you know, people are, and they love the character, and so obviously this film had to be made. And, you know, I'm gonna give it up to Ryan Reynolds, who, you know, was unfortunate enough to have played Deadpool in the stupid, terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is actually the one X-Men film I will not watch again. Even though I have the Blu-ray, I have the Blu-ray, I will not watch it again. He was unfortunate enough to play Deadpool in that movie, but, you know, people did feel that he did a good job as, like, Deadpool. Like, the character of Deadpool. I mean, the way he was portrayed as a character in the film was horrendous, and in no way the actual Deadpool from the comics, but the portrayal of the character of Deadpool by Ryan Reynolds was actually exceptional. So, that, on top of the fandom that grew, on top of, like, you know, just the reverence that some people, like the writers for this film, had for the character, is what kept, like, the idea of a film alive for years. But it took like 10 years to get the script finally made, and when they finally made it, they didn't even dedicate that much money to it, so they were willing to take a lot of risks. So they took a lot of risks with marketing. They did a lot of really clever marketing campaigns, which I think really brought the character to the attention of, like, the layperson, like the general audience, and they liked it because it was, like, kind of like lowbrow, dirty humor, but still kind of superhero with an edge. And it, you know, you could totally see that appealing to everybody. And of course, the ultimate question was, like, will the film live up to the hype? And it actually wound up living up to the hype. It actually pays off in the way that you would expect based on what the marketing was promising. Now, for me, personally, like, you know, that's not enough for me. Like, this is Deadpool, he's part of the X-Men world. Like, I need a little bit more X elements in the film. Like, I just needed to feel the bigger world a little more. And I understand there were jokes made about, like, you know, how Fox didn't want to spend more money than on, like, one X-Men or two X-Men with Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. And I get it, it's funny, but I mean, but it's true, it's very true. Like, they didn't want to invest money in it, and, like, they should have. But nonetheless, like, the filmmakers, like, they worked within their limitations, and they did an exceptional job, and I thought they executed the film just perfectly, and it was perfect. It was perfection for what it needed to be, for what it wanted to be, and I hope they can reproduce that with the sequel. And, you know, just but for me, what's really important is like Fox realizes that they have some potential gems within the canon of X-Men characters. And it's all about taking the right approach, doing the right thing with it. And so that's a really important thing, because now it's like, that means Fox is not going to give up on the X-Men films, even if the main X-Men films aren't doing that great, or maybe aren't that great. You know, they'll still continue doing like branched off X films within the X-Men universe, because why not? You have all this amazing content in mind. So yes, do it. So that's really exciting. So I'm really thankful to Deadpool for that. I'm really, really thankful to Deadpool. All right, now let's get into the actual fucking movie, because this, first of all, like the reverence I have for this, it's really, really high because of everything I've just talked about, because of the threat to the characters and what this could potentially do for a Marvel Fox alliance, because everybody's realizing, well, maybe we can all profit off of this, because on Marvel's end, like the comics sell quite a bit with Deadpool. Like, he's one of the most popular characters in the Marvel universe. Like, it benefits them for him to become such a huge character now because of the success of the film. So there's a mutually beneficial relationship there, and so that's a good thing. I think that's going to really drive a lot of the growth within the X-Men film franchise, and etc. We see that there's this Legion show coming up, which is bound to be incredibly interesting, I hope. Again, Legion is, you know, David Haller, I think his name is. He's the son of Xavier. And there's a show coming out, I think on Sci-Fi, or I don't know where it is, but there's a trailer for it, and it's exceptional. Like, really exceptional. Like, even though there was all this stuff coming out during Comic-Con, like, for me, that was the one that, like, really got me, and I was like, I'm in. I'm fucking in. This is quality. This could be great. And that's what the X-Men universe in other mediums needs. It needs other great products like it's had with the comic books throughout, you know, forever. It needs to reproduce that. It needs to show the world that it is as good as what the Marvel has done with the Marvel universe. But anyway, I'm sure it will happen. Just whatever. I've been sidelined as far as where I was going with this. But just getting back to the film itself, though, I'll just briefly talk about the elements. The filmmaking exceptional, the writing great. Just so many clever approaches to telling the story, as far as like temporal structure, you know, flashbacks constantly being cut in. I loved all those. I love the scenes in the freeway. Like, everything on the freeway was amazing. It was even better than the clip we saw like a couple years ago. That had leaked and sort of got everybody excited about it, and I think is what ultimately was the straw that broke the camel's back for Fox to greenlight the project. So everything there was great, but like the best part of the movie for me, the absolute best part, is Colossus. The portrayal of Colossus is great. It's so good. I fucking love it. I fucking love the portrayal of my buddy up here, Piotr Rasputin. Like, I like X2, okay? X-Men 2, X-Men United, X2 by Bryan Singer. Love that fucking movie, okay? I love when Colossus was introduced in that film, I went fucking nuts. I was so excited that we got a Colossus in the movies and that he was being portrayed pretty cool. I was very excited about that. But in no way was that the Colossus in the comic books. Like, that was not the Colossus. Colossus is Russian. Where's the Russian part? Where's the Russian poet part? That's so interesting. There's so many interesting facets to Colossus's character, and none of it is being demonstrated. Plus, visually, physically, he just wasn't quite the Colossus we knew from the comics. Cut to Deadpool 2016. You see Colossus, and he is Colossus. He's fucking Colossus. My big disappointment with the portrayal of Colossus was that we never saw him in human form. Sorry, folks, no. Yes. Portray him the way he portrayed him, We need a human. We need him to turn human because he turns off the metal when he's not fighting. He gets rid of the metal skin. Okay? He can't be in the X-Mansion having breakfast or whatever, you know, in his fucking steel form or whatever. Whatever the fuck the metal is. He can't do that. He can't. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that. But overall, I love the portrayal of Colossus. I thought it was amazing. Amazing. As far as like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I was semi-aware of the character because I know that she was introduced during the Grant Morrison era, which I think is a great era for the X-Men, the new X-Men period. But I didn't really know about her really, and she just like kind of went under the radar for me. I didn't really think about her as I was reading those issues, and she wasn't really relevant much the last few years, so I didn't really know about her. But I really loved the character. I thought the character was portrayed great, and I really loved how like very close to the end, like her costume gets burnt off because she like launches her like cannonball or whatever, and we see an actual X-Men costume below it, like with an X, and there's like yellow. I'm just like, yes, that is X-Men. That is an X-Man. That is a woman, so it's an X-woman. But nonetheless, that is an X-Men. That's a mutant wearing an X-Men costume. That's like yellow and black or whatever, but it's like it looks like an X-Men costume. Like Deadpool straight up looked like Deadpool from the comics. Like you cannot deny it. Like the filmmakers for the Deadpool, they know exactly what Marvel absolutely knows, which is like the closer the portrayal of the character on film to the character in the comics, the happier the audience will be. Because the general audience is not going to go to a film if their nerdy buddies are telling them, don't go, this sucks. Some of them might take the risk, but the majority of them will not go. But if the nerds are behind you, then everyone will be behind you. And the nerds are going to be behind you when you portray the X-Men the way they're portrayed in the comics. When you portray Captain America, Iron Man, everyone the way they're portrayed in the comics. Don't tell the exact same comics story that are in the comics. Everybody wants different stories. Everybody wants to be surprised in the films. But the portrayal of the characters need to be close to what we see in the comic books. Yes, and the alterations are fine, and they can be what they are in the Marvel Universe, which is minimal. There's minimal alterations between the representation in the comics and what we see in the screen. But if you look at the X-Men films, even to this day, X-Men Apocalypse at the very end kind of tried to do the costumes, but it's like, why did you save it for the end? Like, why couldn't we have seen this at the beginning? Why couldn't they have had these costumes the entire movie? I'm going to talk about X-Men Apocalypse eventually. I'm going to wait to talk about X-Men Apocalypse until I get the Blu-ray, which should be coming in about a month and a half or so, and then I'll put down my thoughts on that one. Overall, I love the film, in fact, though. I just want to state that as a fact. I loved X-Men Apocalypse. Hands down, loved it. And I will talk all about why that is, but I want to watch it again because I saw it twice, but I haven't really thought about it. I want to really be in tune with the movie in order to really talk about like why I think people had a problem with it and why I don't. But of course, is it perfect? Hell no, it's not perfect. But was it good? Yes. Was it great? Close. As a hardcore X-Men fan, like that tips the scale for me, and I'll say yes, it was great. But most people did not say it was great. But nonetheless, I would say it's like 50-50 as far as like the split between who thinks it was great or good and who thinks it was bad. But anyway, I will talk about that later. Other stuff about Deadpool, I think I pretty much covered everything. I think everybody acted really well in it. It was really clever. Everything was great. If they can maintain that in the second film, I'll love it. And the fact that they're going to introduce Cable finally into the cinematic universe and likely do it in a really exceptional way given the portrayal of the characters in the first film, I'm really happy about it. I'm hearing rumors about like Cable being, I don't know the name of the guy, I'll try to remember it. He's going to be potentially portrayed by this one dude who's really talented. Not the choice I would have gone with, but I haven't seen what he does, so maybe he's I don't know, maybe he's great. And apparently Domino's going to be in it as well. So this is exciting stuff. This is really exciting stuff. Really exciting. Really, really, really exciting. So this could open up the doorway again for a lot of new stories, a lot of new like ventures on behalf of Fox within their X-Men universe. You know, taking risks, doing things that will excite people like me. So we'll see. I think it can work. I think it will work. I'm really excited about all of it, and I'm really thankful to this film for that, because it was an even bigger hit than I think Days of Future Past. I might be wrong, but it would have been as big as Days of Future Past, if not more, had it opened in China. But China didn't let it open. It didn't open in China. So China's become a big market for film, and probably an even bigger market for like big tentpole films, because those, you know, like, you need a lot of money to finance those, and the U.S. can do it. I'm sure they have companies producing films on that scale, but I don't know if it's the same quality, but maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know much about Chinese cinema currently. I should learn more about it. I will eventually. Anyway, I am completely being sidelined here. Ultimately, Deadpool is a good film, and people are right about it, and I'm happy that I was able to watch it, live in an era in which it exists, and also in the era in which it will, in which there will be more of them. And I got this cool Steelbook. I've been trying to get these Steelbooks for the Blu-rays because why the fuck not, right? Like, physical media is becoming almost irrelevant, so I figured that I would, because I'm still down for Blu-rays, because I don't feel that streaming is yet at where it needs to be completely. I'm happy with still buying physical media. I do like the accessibility of like the ultraviolet option, which I have a lot of films under. But anyway, I'm still down for the Blu-rays, and so I still get the Blu-rays because they look great, and I think they'll look great for a while until they screw with the resolution too much on the televisions, and then we'll have to upgrade all our discs. I don't want to think about that right now. Nonetheless, I get these Steelbooks because they're kind of cool. But just a brief story. Back in Batman v Superman, you know, I could, for some reason, like, I guess I missed a pre-order on Best Buy's website for the Steelbook, and then I went the first day that this was released. Batman v Superman was released on Blu-ray, and unfortunately, they were out like within a couple of hours of opening. I got there, they didn't have any. I was like, what's going on here? I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is weird, like, because it wasn't that early, it wasn't that late, and it was out, and I was like, how many did you guys have there? And they told me they had like 20 of them. I was like, yeah, 20 Batman v Superman Steelbooks, like, what? But apparently it's all about like creating scarcity and value, and I get that, but fuck. Anyway, I missed out. I called all the Best Buys around, couldn't get it. Wound up getting the normal version, but I know you can get it on eBay, but I don't know. Anyway, Steelbooks are cool, and sometimes it's hard to get them, so you gotta kind of stay on top of shit. But I'm definitely gonna try to get the Steelbook for X-Men Apocalypse, and of course, future X-Pool. He should be called X-Pool. Deadpool films that are bound to come out. We'll see what happens with this whole franchise. Now, I'm sure this has like got Fox like all like screwed up as far as like, where should we go now? We have this Deadpool, but we also have the X-Men that are kind of floundering-ish. No, and I'm not going to talk about X-Men Apocalypse until the Blu-ray, but there's a lot to talk about here, but I don't want to make this video more than half an hour, so as always, I just want to close this video. Thank you for watching it. Thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for being a friend and traveling down that road and back again. As always, if you have the option to put an X in the box, you should put an X in that box, because I'm not going to allow anybody to check me. Ain't nobody going to check me. Do you understand? I don't know if you understand. I'm going to have to keep reminding you about this. I'm going to remind you.